I live in Los Angeles, and as many of you probably know, we've had fires, many in several places. Unfortunately, I am fine. However, a good friend from high school called me. That's been happening. A lot of people who are hearing about it are checking in to see, am I okay? I was fine. But it was fascinating because when she called, we haven't spoken for years. Now, this is a very good friend from, I don't know, more 55 years or something like that. And we hadn't spoken. And she's like, well, what have you been up to? It's been a long time. And I said, well, I'll record a video and then I'll tell you. And that's what I'm doing today. Because what I was doing this entire time, my life was developing a blueprint for your success and world transformation. So how did that happen? How could I have gotten there? And then I'm looking at the world and thinking, well, it must have been true. The world needs something. And I'm seeing a lot of people who are really afraid, and I know that they need something. So I thought, maybe I'm supposed to talk. And that's what I'm doing today, and so that she'll understand as well. And so will everyone else, everyone who knows me. You don't know who you're going to become when you come into this world. You don't know what the world is going to offer you, but you have a plan. And I'm telling you, you do have a blueprint. You have something you are meant to live that would cause you to be successful, that would cause you to fall in love with yourself and have everything that you want. And I know that's true because I developed the plan that you can have it. Now, I didn't get it because I had to develop it, so that was a challenge. And I was terrified the entire time, as some people might be feeling now. Because what's happening is we're having an energetic change in the world, and so you're asking to become your wonderful, beautiful, magnificent self. And that is what is within you. Now, that I do know, even though I denied it for so long, because what happens is we hide from ourselves. You do it because we can't know. We can't know what we can do unless we do it, and it's always in front of us. And then we have to deal with that unknown thing, which is happening right now. When we had all the fires, people are in such pain and anguish because of everything being lost. And I understand that. And so that's why I'm going to talk about energy. And I'm going to put more of that into our world because that's what creates everything. We just don't always understand it, but we can now. And so when I was 19 years old, I understood what that was about losing everything and feeling you have no place to go because our home burned as well. Everything was gone. I was telling my group this morning, I remember standing there. All I had were the clothes on my back and they smelled like smoke. And I'm like, who am I? I've got to start all over again. But that was obviously really helpful for me because it led me to develop me and now something else that I can give to others. Now I'm saying that because everyone has a purpose like that. You have it. Doesn't you may not have found it yet, you may not have seen it, but most likely you've been afraid of it or you've judged it because you've judged yourself. Because you have to go through things in your life. That's part of the transformation. That's part of your self-actualization is to move through things. And then what happens whenever we live, we move through things and we give it to others. And I can do that now. I'm 74. So this is the time for me and it's probably the time for you. Because the age really doesn't matter. It's the energies of what's happening in your life right now, what's happening in our world. Many people are looking at things and saying everything's falling apart. But I knew that wasn't occurring. What's happening is that it's asking us to become our greatest selves. And that was the work that I was given, which is why I know I have the blueprint to your success in world transformation. I couldn't have said that before. I had to live it, I had to prove it, and I had to heal. Because that's what happens. When you heal, so does the world. And you can see right now that's not happening. Because it's waiting for the rest of us to awaken to who we are. And that's every single person because you have that blueprint. Now, there are things that I would never have spoken about before. I started doing certain things early on in my life I wasn't going to tell anyone. You probably are feeling things like that about yourself now because your real personality is coming up and no one is telling you that it's okay. Well, I am because I know that it is okay. But I did a little presentation. I'm going to show you that because I do want you to have this because I'm making huge changes in my life because this is the time we have to really start moving in a new direction. We're going into this year, and here in the United States especially, we will need our consciousness to come up to a much higher level within us so that we can create and do what we're meant to do, but also help shift the energies of our world because they will be intense. They have been intense for a long time, and that's what you've been feeling. When we don't understand energy, it can kind of drive us a little nuts. And I've gone through that a lot in my life. So that's why I love giving you something that will help. I know that if I never see you again, just listening to this, you're going to understand something about yourself and you're going to put an energy into our world that's going to help it transform. Whether or not I see you ever, this will do that for you. So I'm so glad you're here, and just for listening, it's going to help so much and you'll understand. January 16th, 2025. I'm saying this is today is January the 17th. And what happened was I was working on this yesterday because the night before I received this guidance, which was energy from Wilhelm saying, let's put this together, and not knowing that it was an energetic shift that was happening, and that's why I put this together. So I want you to understand it a lot more too, because you may have felt that yourself. And what happens is we start to learn more about who we are. Okay, I'm going to explain this. Who is Wilhelm? Wilhelm is my guide. Let me go back. I'm sorry. Let me go back. This is I just put this together, so I want you to see it. And Wilhelm is a name I have given to the cosmic guidance I have received since 1989. Over time, I've discovered a fascinating synchronicity. Specific days over decades have revealed profound insights and increments. These messages guide us to embrace new levels of ourselves and contribute to the collective consciousness. We've all experienced transformative changes in our lives and our world, but Wilhelm offers a unique path forward. Today I'm sharing this portion with you because I want you to see what is truly possible for yourself and for the future of our world. The thing that most of us have might have some difficulty is making the connection between who we are, what we do, and how that affects the greater world. But we all do, and that's the part to understand that your success, whoever you are, what you're meant to be, will help change the world. Because again, it's an energetic connection, and even though you may not have gotten there or done it, it still is important, and especially now. And why January 16th? Because over 16 years, Wilhelm's messages on January 16th have provided profound insight into personal and planetary transformation. This presentation explores these messages, weaving together themes of growth, self-discovery, and collective evolution with astrological insights. Now, you must understand, I did not know this had happened, that it had occurred this way. All I was doing for all these years, more than 36 now, was writing the messages. And there's a formation, and I'm saying this now because I want you to understand, even though we don't always know it, there is an organization in our universe, and you're part of it. You have a unique place in there. And so I put in some things here. I am not an astrologer, but what started happening with Wilhelm, they started bringing me back to that because when we understand the energies, and that's how astrology came about, is understanding how those energies may affect us when we were born, because you have a genetic code. And so this is just a little example of this particular day. And I had to do that because the messages that Wilhelm has given me, I go back and I start just checking them on the days they came through. And interestingly enough, they are coming through and explaining the influences, the energies that might be happening on that particular day. And this is the only fear that many of us have, which is coming up now heavily because we don't know what's going on, maybe within us and in the world. And so, we've got to move to the unknown. That's the only thing that keeps us stuck is not being willing to move to the unknown of us or in the world. And that can look a little scary sometimes. Now, these are what the messages have revealed, and this was I used AI to analyze these because it was really new to me. But this is what they are: recurring themes in Wilhelm's messages: trusting the unknown to access knowingness. You have something within you that when you come to know it, you feel it. Okay, appreciating the present moment for expansion. We can only create anything right now. Because we keep going back to something else, but we can only do it now. Releasing self-judgment and embracing forgiveness. You may not understand how important that one is because we are always judging ourselves. We have to because we don't know where we're going and we'll make mistakes and we'll start judging. And then that is the process when you become aware of that, then you go into forgiveness. And that's an energetic alignment that will uplift you. Aligning with your higher purpose. You might think you don't have one. I'm telling you, you're wrong because I know that you do. And this work has allowed me to see that. I didn't think I had one either. I felt lost my entire life. But it was because I was meant to devise something that we don't have to be anymore. And you have something within you you're supposed to do as well. Healing is what you experience while in physical form when you move from an uncomfortable state of being to a comfortable state of being. Now that's always true, but we don't always do it. And you will find sometimes you will stay in an uncomfortable state of being because you're familiar with it, because you know it. And I've done that for many years, so I do understand because, again, it's that taking that next step into who you're meant to become. And this, again, just for those of you who might be interested in this, I put it in because these were the ongoing energies that were happening, and they're just certain things that might even happen systematically or with just in Capricorn, just the various seasons. But anyway, you can look at all of that. I just wanted others who were interested to have it because I didn't study astrology. I do look at it on this double Scorpio, and I have to investigate everything, but it's not my training. All your emotions are valuable. Now that was one that was really hard for me to get because we will have all the emotions and we try to hide them. Now these are things that may have been generational, maybe trauma that you've moved through, whatever. But sometimes we're just going to hide from them, and it's never helpful to do that because there was one message Wilhelm gave us, and it was, your emotions are not an end to themselves. They are designed to lead you to your beliefs. And your beliefs may or may not be based in truth. And that truth means that you're supposed to have everything you want. So if you're feeling sad, angry, depressed, and all of that, you just have not allowed yourself to understand why you're having those emotions, but the emotions are helping you uncover it. I do so much work on that because it's so important. Ambition. Many times your very own ambitions are blocked from your awareness because of the lack of belief you hold. It is important as well to consider that then your only obstacle is that lack of belief. Only you can seek to remove it. Now, I can tell you that I received that message so many years ago. I couldn't do it right away. I had to keep working on it. That's when you start understanding your brain science and mindset and why it's so important. We can have those ideas. You've had them. You see the thing in front of you, but sometimes you're blocked and you don't want to do it. Now, there are many could be other reasons, but mainly it's because you might think you can't do it. You can. And energy is everything. Everything in the physical world is energy, including you. And when you understand that, you can do all sorts of things, and this is what I have done with Wilhelm's work because it's what allowed me to heal. Healing is when you start to understand how you're using the energies and your emotions in your own body to figure out who you are, and that's what a lot of this work does. Okay, so I'm going to go into some of the messages here. I'm not going to read all of them. You'll have them on the presentation, and so I'd love for you to read them, and you will see there's a reflection question, meaning just something for you to think about. You see, this is what I did every single day. I would receive this information, I had to live it, and then when I put together my work, the program that I use all of the messages and then the same thing, these questions, because everything is within you. It's just blocked off, that's all, and you'll start to understand that. And this came in 2009. None of these have been published because that's another thing I hid for so long. I started in 1989. They didn't get published at all, I think, until 2008, some about that. And they only got published then because someone found them. I was hiding them because I didn't understand what was happening. You might have done that as well. When you discover something about yourself you can't believe, but you have something that's going to develop, and this is the best way for you to start to do it is incrementally. And so then all of them are they go year by year, and so each message you'll get a little something from. That's why I did them that way, but they're all on that date. They were all on January the 16th, but there was an interesting story that ends up when you go through them. You will know who you are, and that's what will happen. You will start to appreciate yourself so much more. I know that will happen. Okay, and wow, this is a good one. Appreciation is one of the most powerful directing tools you'll have at your disposal to experience the physical life journey you desire. Now, that could have been talked out of you a long time ago because we have go through trauma, we don't understand who we are, and so we can't appreciate ourselves. So you move into that place where you must do that. That's called self-empowerment, retraining yourself. There is no risk. Risk does not exist and is merely a belief that you have accepted, which unfortunately also prevents you from experiencing the true nature and potential of your being. When I would receive messages, sentences like that, and they would just go on forever, I knew I was being spoken to sternly, let's say, because you're being afraid. That's what I was hearing. You're being afraid to take that next step, and that's what goes on for all of us, depending on how much we've built up our inner knowing. Risk is an illusion and is a belief that we've all accepted. And so, I mean, I could go back further. Wilhelm has given me so many things because they said we're all in this fear. But they said, your biggest fear doesn't even happen. And I said, that doesn't even make sense, and I can't wrap my head around it because they said you don't die. You see, but that's what we're all afraid of. We're going to die. And they said, no, you just transition to something else. But because we have that fear of death, we don't allow ourselves to live. That's exactly what goes on. And so when you go through this, you'll start to understand that these will just kind of open you to who you are. You must understand, I received these messages, but there was a wonderful explanation of this. Wilhelm said the first couple of decades of the messages were mainly being directed at me, and then they started shifting to giving it to everyone. And so that's why it turned into a philosophy. Okay, when you are lost, it's just because you haven't gotten in touch with who you are, and you think you have lost your way. You haven't. I'm telling you. Fine. This is so good. You only ever experience the feeling of being lost when you have failed to set your sights on where you desire to go. Now, let me say this with that sentence because it's you might take push back on it because you think, no, that's not possible. I've been doing everything else, and it may not be. You may be going in the wrong direction. You may be going against what your authentic self wants you to do because you're afraid. There's so many other things that would go on. And then you think that you failed in some way, and you haven't. You just haven't found the right place. Your truth is valuable. It will always be underestimated by you. And it is never static as long as you are in physical form. I'm sorry about that slide. That's interesting. But wow, that is so interesting to see now because I remember it and now I understand it. Didn't understand it when it came through, and you might not either because you have to develop your own truth. It has nothing to do with your family, your parents, or where you came from. It's yours, not even your friends. And at this time in our world, it could have been even more challenging for you to find your truth. But it's there, and this is it. Truth is relative, is only important to the one who holds it, and your particular truth will create your personal reality. There is no truth that is more valid or important than another in human existence. While there is a concept you may think of as ultimate truth, you do not come to fully know that while you are in physical form. I'm just going to say that when I would receive these messages, I did not understand what they meant then. I do now. But that's the progress that we each make in our consciousness of what we develop. And everyone has the ability to do it. Which reality will you choose? And we are always doing that. And we're choosing it by the way we choose to think about ourselves and everything else. But again, sometimes we're not aware of what we've been doing because we've been programmed. This is why I've talked about cognitive dissonance so much, and Wilhelm is giving me so much information on that, which led me to study more neuroscience, because that is all that's going on. We've just been convinced that we're not who we should be. Okay. The existential struggle you and the world face. And that was the message that you must come to now, because this is the difficulty that you would experience in your life, but we're seeing it in the world. But when you come to yours, that's how you're supposed to live. You're meant to have the life where you own yourself, where you love yourself, because you did come with that gift. It just may have been blocked, or you could have been traumatized, or whatever. It doesn't matter. You can always change it. And it never matters how old you are as well. That's what Wilhelm keeps talking about, that, because I'm 74 and I'm making this shift again. I've shifted so many times. But there is a reason for that, and I'll show you that. Okay. Self-forgiveness. You could do nothing better than decide to take yourself on what could be called a self-forgiveness journey. I did that. And I'll give you something because it will be great for you to do. If you were to take a day and sit down and write the things that you were just think about stuff that you think you did wrong or whatever, and just look at them all and just write them down, and then just look at it, and then start forgiving yourself. Oh wow, I didn't know about that. I didn't understand that one. Didn't know I had. If I had known, I would have done something different. And you've heard that one because everybody knows that is true. But we don't. We let it accumulate sometimes within us, and we wonder why we're depressed because we haven't processed through that and forgiven ourselves for what we didn't know. And this is this. Oh, for expansion, lack of self-forgiveness is of great detriment to your expansion. And you'll understand this when you read it. When you fail to forgive yourself for what you have done in the past that you judge to be wrong on some level, you become a wrong person and will continue to do things that match your created identity. Now, Wilhelm will always put quotes on certain things because they know it's our interpretation, but they know that certain things will really resonate, and we've all felt when we felt wrong. We are not. We've just learned that from somewhere else. The value of emotions, again, this is what goes for all of us. And recently you might have been feeling a lot of them because of what's happening in the world. But that's getting you to become alive to who you are. Even if it feels really stressful, it's still causing you to move into who you're meant to be in this world. And again, everyone has that plan, has that value. Unconvinced. I love this one so much because this is what we really are doing. Unconvincing ourselves from what we believe that we couldn't do. And so it is a journey. It's in our brains. That's all. And so when you understand it, you can get through it. And then it's a whole different world when you get to the other side of it. Okay, this one. Your job now is to unconvince yourself in order that you might recapture the vision of who you desire to be in this life. Also, there will be a link in the description of this video where you can read all of this. You'll have the presentation, so it will be there. Okay, you are always more than enough. We all do this. You've gone through your life thinking, I'm not enough. I can't take that position. I can't even be with that person because I'm not enough. You were wrong every single time. And that's what you come to discover. And it's not a terrible thing. We have those feelings because we want to grow. We want to own who we are. And so we couldn't feel that we are enough unless we felt that we weren't. That's all. You'll start to see that. Okay, and this was the message. There is a goal that you share with every other soul in your world, and that is to come to know that you are enough. Wow. That's it, and you'll love this message when you go through and read it, because again, I want you guys to have, it's so much better when you are able to sit with yourself and get the information. Doesn't do anything just sitting here. I mean, you can do it some while you're watching the video. However, being with yourself is where you get in touch with your brilliance. And I can say this because this is what I had to do all these years. Master, to achieve a certain level of mastery in your life experience, you achieve a certain level of mastery in living your life experience when you are able to embrace whatever shows up for you, make choices and decisions you believe at the moment are for your highest good, and you never consider fear in those choices or decisions. Now that's a tall order, but that's what mastery is. It causes us to do that. But we don't always get there. And so this is the process that we're all moving through. Now, mastery through responsibility. And responsibility is you coming to own yourself. We can grow up our entire lives giving our responsibility to everyone else, our parents, our friends, or our relationships, even our marriages. But the main responsibility you have is to your life, because that's why you were born, and it was for a great reason. Your wisdom will change the world. Wisdom is the gathering of information through experience, mentally processing that information, and then deciding to use it in your continuing physical life experience. And we've all done that. And so you know that you've accumulated wisdom. You may not have always accessed it or believed it, but when you reflect on it, it causes you to become much more empowered, and that's what you want. wisdom and growth. You could not have done this before. And so that's the one. We will come up to these places. You'll read this one. I want you to get a lot from it, because you're probably there now where you're thinking, I should have done this. This should have been better. I should have. It doesn't matter. You're here right now. And so now you have more information. But the thing that will get you is the regret. And I've done so much of it because I will discover, I've just done it actually, because I've discovered I have all of this and I didn't do anything and I'm still not moving. You've done it. And that's when we have to decide that we have to forgive ourselves and understand we hadn't gotten to the place of belief enough to take that next step. That's the empowerment you want. That's the mindset shift. Then you have never failed. And again, this is another one, and it's so we feel that way sometimes, but Wilhelm would always say, if you're still alive, how could you have failed? You can still do something. That's what it is. And we think that way. Everything is about how we've been programmed, and then we have to decide that we can change it. And that's up to each of us. Okay. There is only one form of failure that ever occurs. This, when you read this one, you'll understand. I hesitate. I hear everything very clearly, but then to write it, I have to become vulnerable and accept. I heard it, but I wasn't willing to tell you. And you've done it in certain ways. It took a while for Roger to find the correct words to deliver this message, partly because he is, as many of you, has been fearful of examining the concept of failure. But Roger does it because he knows that if he writes it, he can no longer ignore our urging. Now, I did ignore it because you see, that was 5 years ago. And I went, I moved, I started doing it. But they're saying, no, I knew that I had more. You do too. And so your vision, you have one, you were born with it. And that's what your life path is, to walk through it and keep finding it. And it may take a really strange journey, because my life did. It doesn't matter. It's still there. And it's just a matter of using tools to get you to uncover your unique gift. And people say, I don't have a gift. And I will tell you that's wrong. You do. And I've done so much with this, especially recently in the last several years when I started doing channeling, especially private channeling, and people have that idea they don't have. And I said, yes, you do. It's right there. You're just blocked from it. You're just not willing to see it, and that's okay. You'll get there. Your vision, keep seeking your vision, and that's, at first, that statement may seem a bit odd to you, but as you attempt to understand it, the relevance to your physical life experience will become apparent, and that is always true, because we get blinded by what everybody else is going to tell us we should do, and we lose sight of who we are, and that is your authentic self. Manifesting your vision continue. You'll be able to read through all of this, because you will have to make a choice. You're always making a choice about where you're going to go. It has nothing to do with the other people. It's about you. And so this one you will love so much because it will take you on a little journey. It was talking about incidents that happened a few years ago that I understood what was going on in our world, but this one will make a lot of sense to you. Then, the sky's not the limit. That was funny. That was one day that, and you'll see the message, because we've heard that the sky is the limit. And Wilhelm said, no, the sky's not the limit. Because we can do things beyond that. We have consciousness. And I know that's what that message was saying. We get limited always in what we can see in physical reality. But they're saying, think beyond that. You'll love that message. Okay. You are afraid of the light. I'm going to read this one because this is important, and I want to talk about it because it's what I'm doing now and what I have been working on for a while and what I want everyone to understand. Okay. You are afraid of the light. We brought Roger to this quote from Plato this morning, and we will explain why. The full quote is, you can easily forgive a child who is afraid of the dark. But the real tragedy of life is when men are afraid of the light. We were going to begin with the premise that no coincident or accidental events occur in your life. If you do not know this or come to believe it, you become a victim in your life rather than a victor. We can be poetic at times. Here is the story. Yesterday, Roger met with his friends whom he had mentioned he had seen in years. Because of this, they wanted to know about his life's journey. Roger joked and said, "I will give you the Cliff Notes, or a consolidated version." As he did so, he couldn't even believe all the experience of every shape and manner or form. When he returned home, he needed to finish a biography of sorts for the group with which he was working. At first, he sent his work and career history, and then they asked for his accomplishments. That's a different thing. Now, these two experiences strung together caused him to recognize that he had been afraid of the light. Roger said, "I couldn't have had this life unless I was meant to do something with it, meaningful." Then last night, a friend asked for an energy healing session as they were in excruciating pain. Roger knew he could accomplish this, but had been afraid to practice it more. He did it brilliantly. Then this morning, he picked up his program, which he began creating more than 4 years ago and has yet to complete. Roger discovered there everything we had given him, which could aid so many others if he would stop being afraid of the light. That last sentence is meant for all of you, without exception. Oh, we almost forgot. It is not accidental that he and you are receiving this message on this day. Figure it out. Wilhelm. Now that date was the 15th, well, the 16th, but that year, it was going to be Martin Luther King's birthday, so we were all looking at ourselves in the world and making choices about what's our value. That's why it was important. You're in the process of being restructured. This is one of the first messages I started to receive that was telling me about the changes that you're experiencing and we're seeing in our world. First of all, please note this message has been decades in the making for Roger and you. We're indeed using the collective you in this message, and you may understand why we have taken to using this phraseology recently. It is because you, the individual, and the collective you are evolving, which occurs through the destruction of the old you. And that's exactly what we have to do, is let go of our old selves. And that's the part that becomes difficult for us, and it's also obviously a little difficult for many in our world, which is why we have the conflicts. And so these are going to help you. You can't lie and be happy. And that's what you're doing if you're not owning yourself. But it may take a while for you to move through that. But just understand that the end result is that if you're not owning who you are, you're still lying to yourself a little bit. But it takes us a while to get through that. And then you will see, this is so good. When you believe someone else is responsible for the current state of your life, you are lying to yourself. Now, those words they give me sometimes are really harsh because they want me to pay attention. You too. Freedom. Freedom is to be you. True freedom is to be you. That is your goal. That's the only goal you have in life. And sometimes it's challenging for us to get there, but we have means and ways, and it's all in your consciousness. Accomplish more. You were meant to accomplish more. Now, we're saying this is about everybody. That's what they were saying. This is about everyone. We come into the world to do more than our ancestors, than our parents, or whoever lived before. And this particular time in our world is a little more, and we're going through a generational shift everywhere, a global shift. That's why it's been a little challenging. However, you have something within you that if you develop it, you move through it. And we always feel this way. We're lost somehow. You're never lost. You either think that achieving your goals is not possible, you do not possess the ability, or some outside source is standing in your way. That is all merely your limited thinking. And I know that for sure because I've proven it in my life for so many years. The only experience of feeling lost, again, this is the one. It goes back to 2012 because that was a pivotal moment and shift in our consciousness collectively and with us individually. You may not have known that or felt it, but that's exactly what happened. Those energies change over time. You have never failed. This one is so wonderful. You'll get so much out of it. And it will start to get you to think about yourself in an entirely new way. I think there's a link in there for a little video you might watch too. So that's it. Success is inevitable. It is not necessary that you. It is not necessarily that you are comfortable with what you consider to be success. It is that you have become comfortable with what you would term failure. That was so difficult to receive, but I know that it's true. You see, because we know what's in front of us, and if we're not doing, that's where we feel we're experiencing that failure. But if we decide to get out of our way, that's why it's so uncomfortable. But then we can like stand on the mountain type and shout. Anyway, so this is just a little description I just wanted you guys to have about why this work, how it came about. You can read all of this in the presentation, but just to, again, like I said, I started in 1989, but this is what you'll see. And I'm just so glad that you're watching this. Just that energy that you spent just from watching it and taking in and understanding and loving yourself a little bit more, you helped change the world right there. Now, it took me 36 years to create a cosmic blueprint for your success and world transformation. And it was shocking for me to say that and to see it and to appreciate what it was. And you don't ever have to do that. And this is what it turned into. Your last development program. Now, this is what I have. And what I'm doing now, we're taking this to a whole new level. I got yelled at last night by my family because they were looking at the page and they said, Roger, it still says 4 weeks. And I said, yeah, no, we're getting there. We're changing that. And a lot of it might be done this weekend, so you guys will all see all of that. However, I'm going to explain that to you. I'm going to give you the story of why I'm doing this, because I want you to have your success, and I know that you can because it's within you. You just have to go through a process of understanding yourself, and that's what I created all this time. Now, I didn't know I had done it. You don't know what you have either. And sometimes things we just don't believe, and that's really it. It's always going to be your lack of belief in who you are and what you can accomplish. In 2021, many of you don't know this story, but in 2021, I was walking down the street and heard that I was given everything that we would need in 2012. I said, that doesn't even make sense. And then I come into my house and go to my computer and find a folder that I hadn't looked in, and I saw all the messages in there. And then I said, okay, I tried to deny it. I did that a lot. You probably have as well. And so I said, let me try this. And so I put people into this program. I called it 4 Weeks to Your Best Life. I said, I got to see. That was in December of 2021. And it just shocked me because I came out of it really understanding so many things that I struggled with for decades. And I go, why is that happening? Wilhelm said, well, that's why we gave you the work. That's why it worked. How do you think you healed? And I came to understand that. I've been doing this for 36 years. I've had every illness, every disease. It's more things that anybody can imagine, and they're gone. And I said, how did that happen? They said, well, you were downloading things at energetic times. That's why you got all the information. It didn't make sense to me. And then they said to me that if I met someone, if someone came into my presence, that it's an energetic connection, I would have been given a message for their birthday in 2012. Another thing, I said, that's ridiculous. That couldn't have possibly happened. And I wasn't going to try it. And time I did, it worked. And people would say, how did that happen? How did you know? I said, it wasn't me, it was Wilhelm, but that's what happened. Some people would cry because they had such recognition. And they told me everyone would relate to the message, but for that individual, it would make sense to them because it's connected to your genetic code. That's what happened. And I doubted it for the longest time. I was in a workshop, a networking group the other day, and I said, let me try with these people that I don't even know and see, because we're in presence, and both of them, 2 people, it worked. And they said, yes. I'm saying this because you have a connection. You have an energetic connection to the universe, to the earth, to God, to however you think of it, and it's your journey to follow. And as you do that, you live this life that is wonderful, and you contribute to everything that is going on, and you help shift things. And I know you can do it because that's what I've lived. My life was meant to develop this. Yours was meant to develop something as well. And as you do that, you live this life of abundance, happiness, and love, and you contribute to the world, and that's what we're up to now. And so what I've done now, I said, I'm going to take this to the world because I hid out for a long time because I was told in 2005 that I was given something that could really do something that couldn't be me. You've done that as well. 2005, and then this morning I just looked at something. I got a notice about something, a 19-year cycle. There are cycles that we move through energetically, and yep, 2005 is when I wrote the dream, and then 2024 is when I said, wow, this is really real. I'm saying this because you have a dream. It's meant to be fulfilled. And as you do it, you will have this wonderful life and you will leave a legacy. And I keep saying that because I know that's what happens. You leave because people will remember you because you did something and it was within you all the time and you just developed it. That's what happens. Thank you so much for being here. And again, I'll have the link in here for this presentation because I want you to have it, and you can check out my work because again, what I'm doing is I'm going to start. I have some people I'm going to get now. We're going to take them because I don't do marketing and I don't any. I'm terrible at it but they're going to do it for me. But still, my goal was to take it to as many people as possible because the only reason you have failed at anything is because you didn't keep going. And so that's why this program, you own it forever. It's not that something you give away because it's your work that you're doing. You'll understand that when you see it because there are assignments that you do that you get in touch with you. And so I decided I want people to own it because my clients told me that because they started going back and doing some of the sessions again and they said it makes a huge difference. But now I decided everybody has to have it. And like I said, it's affordable for anyone. You can do a monthly thing or whatever. But I'm telling you, you don't have any difficulties that you can't move over, and you're supposed to be successful. You're supposed to have everything that you want, and you can do it if you stop judging yourself and let go of everything else. One other thing, I heard Demi Moore. She was receiving an award the first time she got an award for acting. Might not know who she is, even if depending on what country you're in. But she said she finally understood. Someone said to her, because she was always judging herself, and they said, well, you'd be okay if you would just take away the measuring stick. That's for all of us, because you've done that. Stop measuring yourself, start loving yourself, do what you came to do, and make the world better because that's within you. See you soon. Thanks.